Sounds good. All right, so welcome back, everyone. Episode 13, Coast to Coast NHL podcast. That's it. We're just gonna. It's crazy. It's been 1 week since our last podcast, and the events haven't stopped happening since we hung up the call last time. I guess we just start with what happened.
Yeah, I was just gonna say one of the last things we said on that was that everything's gonna change by the minute, so it'll be interesting to see where we're at come today.
Sorry, and just I'm here with Mr. Maverick, my co-host, and we're on episode again 13. Things are changing. They're changing quickly. They're changing by the hour.
Very quickly. Yeah.
And to top things all off, like the second we hung up on our call last week, we open up our phones and immediately find out the NBA has, what's the word they use? Postponed, whatever.
Delayed. Postponed or delayed. NHL is saying paused, but NBA is using different terminology.
So I'm just going to try and go a little bit chronologically in the first 2 days here. We hang up, NBA, one of their players tests positive.
Rudy Gobert
tests positive for this virus. They shut down their league. And then it's just a giant ass domino effect for the next day or two. League after league after league shutting down. So obviously we're deciding to do this podcast. Again, probably not going to be a whole lot to talk about with the world events that are going on. But I think it's great to just document just the escalation of this whole scenario could be something we look back on in 20 years and be like, oh, how kids are asking us about how did it feel when you were living through this or whatnot.
What was the impact like?
Yeah, and it'll be good. We have this exact documentation of the things how we are feeling in the moment. And
it's pretty funny because today I heard on the radio, I want to say it was Ray Ferrero, was saying that even during the war, there was still sports for people. There was still somebody who was awarded the cup. Like, we have not seen this before for multiple sports at the same time. And it's just kind of like, this is the first time. This is a groundbreaking time for the impact of life on sports. I mean, it's no more clear than this, that sports is not the end all be all, and there are things above sports that take precedent over that are more important to society than that. But it also shows how important sports is to society. All these people losing their jobs, the lack of stimulation to the income or stimulation to the economy, stuff like that. Like, it's going to be interesting now talking during what's happening and how things are impacting, but also hopefully soon when we come out of this, what happens there and potential changes and potential improvements, potential impacts, everything to the sporting world and then also in life. And I mean, I don't think we're going to spend too much time getting into life stuff right now. You should probably tune into the news and stuff. For
I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna interrupt you quickly. Just for whatever reason, I always like to think in my mind like someone's watching this 150 years from now. So essentially, the NBA closed. I think it was 2 days later. It took 2 days later for the NHL to close. I don't think it was the very next day. NHL shut down. Essentially, long story short, North America is shutting down. Like everything. We're being advised to keep gatherings below 50 people, like below 10. Like, it's basically coming down to people self-isolate at home, or else the worst is going to be even worse. So I just want to put that out there. That's kind of what we're dealing with. We're going to try and keep this somewhat light and not go too deep, like you said, into what's going on around the globe.
And we're not professionals when it comes to that. I mean, we're not professionals when it comes to anything really, but we're trying to really bridge the gap between, being able to take a break for, even if you just tune in for a few minutes, just to forget about kind of what's going on and forget about the anxiety and the, I don't want to say depression, but I mean, anxiety and depression go hand in hand. So
and unfortunately, some of the things, like, even if we're going to be talking about the NHL, all the stuff we're talking about is going to be impacted based on this disease that's been spreading around. So
But it's interesting because at it from a sports angle, it's not even like, oh, we're in the middle of the season, we got to cut it short. We're kind of towards the end of the season. We only had what 12-ish approximately games left,
Yep.
10 to 15 from 10 to 14 for most teams.
Yep.
And there was a lot of races that were going to be exciting down the stretch, some battles for everything. And we're now talking about delaying the draft, delaying free agency, delaying potentially the playoffs. I want to say again, it was Ray Ferraro too, but if somebody on TSN today was saying that if everything starts to line up the way that some people are speculating currently on March 18th, they're saying that by the time hockey gets running up and going again, and baseball gets going up and starting, and baseball gets going again, football will be starting, UFC will have their fights, wrestling will have their WrestleMania, soccer will have their championships leagues will have their tournaments. All these things will all be held in the same month. And usually we're used to in the sports world where it's kind of like hockey and baseball and some sports, kind of a lull for a few weeks, depending on playoff situations, and then the other set of sports, and then it flip-flops each season.
It's going to be a mad overlapping for sure.
There's going to be some time where, like, if it lines up this way, it could be July, August, September area where we could have every sport on at the same time. And, like,
as a massive sports fan and gambler, that's
right. Like,
dream.
that again, if you want to look at it from positive angle, if you will, what could potentially come out of this? There's going to be something that needs to stimulate the economy. Betting was just coming in.
It was.
What if gambling on sporting events coming back in a such focused period of time brings in enough money? I hate to say it, but there's going to be people out there who are going to resort to gambling on a Hail Mary type situation, right?
I'm going to interrupt quickly just because I have quite an experience in the gambling industry. Like, depressions and recessions are when the gambling really picks up. But there's also a lot of studies and stuff out there that say gambling is actually really bad for the economy. So it doesn't actually do anything to bolster it because, like you said, it's just people that are in that trouble. They're going for that Hail Mary and stuff like that. So
often they lose, which lead to worse things.
I do agree with you. I think
whatnot, but
this is really going to lead to a very giant boom. As someone that's been in the poker world for over a decade now, like 15 years. Just to put this, the traffic on online poker right now is up 300% this week.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, people stuck on
people who just love poker but don't have the time to. They're those guys who play poker with their buddies once or twice a year, whatever, just for fun, and they're like, well, if I got nothing else to do. There's also a lot of people who they're saying the purchasing of video games has gone up exponentially as well, or video game consoles, I guess, and thus video games. But
makes sense. Anything that's gonna kind of get you that you do in your house, or because that's essentially we're leading up to here. You're talking about
we're looking at 4 to 8 weeks living
a hard reset of the whole world. Really, everybody go inside for 4 to 8 weeks, and then come back, and we'll hopefully get everything going again.
Well, NASA's been studying, I think I mentioned this last episode maybe, but NASA's been studying the pollution rates across the globe, but specifically on Italy. And Italy, I don't know the percentages and whatnot, but they're basically just saying that Italy's pollution has improved in the 4 weeks or whatever that it's been on pure isolation than what they kind of expected it would take many, 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 many years to do.
Yeah, I've heard similar studies with surrounding China. So so that it's crazy. As much as there's devastation and all this bad things, there is going to be a lot of good that comes from this, and that's really the nature. One
of the most positive things I hope comes out of it is, sorry, I just lost the word, but basically just society's togetherness. The only way we're really going to get out of this or through this is together, and the strength of us all as one is what's going to really get us through this. And the sense of community, I guess, is kind of what I was getting at afterwards, where people are kind of like, hey, we got through this. That was something that wasn't dealt with for hundreds of years, but we did it. We got through it. And then there's going to be that almost sense of pride between people that you and I are different, but you and I both
we conquered this shit. And
it's going to bring a lot of people together.
I don't want to quote this guy, so I won't say his name, but it's essentially a war against an invisible opponent.
Yes,
Which
yes.
is kind of what it can boom stuff up. And
But it's
just
the
to,
only type of situation where it's almost humanity versus something. Like
yeah,
wars is usually like humans versus humans, obviously,
that's
but
true.
like it's crazy.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
for one for all, right?
yeah. And so we're thinking of this podcast like when are the sports gonna come back? But I think everyone's just. I'm finding it hard to understand if it's possible these things that they are talking about for timelines, or if it's just them trying to fill up dream like I'm not an
Well,
expert like
the way I look at it is you can't just sit there and be like, let's see. You can't, because then if
yeah,
it's all like, oh shit, stuff's good
it's
in
here,
10
oh
days,
we're good now, yeah,
it's going to be a scramble, and then logistically things might not work out. Like you have to be like, assuming it starts in 10 days, this is the most logical scenario. And then in maybe 7 days, it's like, that ain't happening anymore. Now, okay, what's the next timeline? Okay, 10, 20 days from that, what's the most logical scenario if things start up in 20 days? Okay, if that doesn't start up, what's in 30, and so on and so on. And eventually you get, hopefully, to a scenario where you still get hockey in, or sports in. But I mean, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and it's at this rate, it looks like we're at least without hockey for 2 months.
Yeah,
At the
I think that
at the
that's
very
like the
least,
standard.
and
I think that at the minimum, we're looking at 4 weeks. And like people, again, what you mentioned earlier, when people look back, people have to understand that like it's not like when if you're also live during the hockey lockout, it's like, or a sport lockout, it's like, I'll just tune into something else, or at least there's curling, or at least there's bowling or golf or darts or
anything.
pool or some poker, something like poker spike during the lockout, right? But we're talking nothing. We're
Yep.
talking their TSN just announced that they're going to be playing the Raptors championship run from start to finish on replay over the next week. So like they're literally just going to be going
Yeah,
down
because
these,
they can't have highlight shows because there's no
they can't have
highlights.
organic material. It's all, they have to have one person in a room chopping up video or streaming video onto a feed.
Yeah.
That's all they're going to be allowed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the thing that I think one of the biggest losers in this whole situation is going to be cable. Because people are going to be like, well, if I can't watch anything organic on cable, I can't watch reality shows, I can't watch sports, I can't watch the news because I'm freaking depressed, or like,
Yeah.
you can't watch anything on cable. Okay, I'm going to turn to video games. I'm going to turn to my movie collection I've never watched. I'm going to turn to a season of something. I'm going to turn to Crave, Netflix, Disney Channel, Apple TV, whatever, right? People are going to turn to these different networks, and then they're going to be like, I don't need cable anymore. Like, I don't value it anymore. And I think they're going to be one of the biggest people hit.
Yeah.
Because most people with, I was going to say, sorry, most people with cable are people who just haven't gone through or see the value in going to some sort of service, right?
Yeah. The older generation, the boomers.
Generally. Yep. Yep.
Shout out to our boomer watchers.
Yeah, hopefully. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. maybe.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Outside of the obvious ones that we've already seen that are going to be the industries that are going to struggle, that makes a lot of sense that it could be that. But they also have an opportunity, like, to like show what kind of companies they are, and maybe bring, like, I know Rogers has made announcements of free stuff just because of like the home isolation and stuff like that. So one thing I wanted to touch on kind of is like the duties of businesses, and we've seen it a lot over this past week. It's was one of the hotter topics right when the NHL closed, like the duty of these billion-dollar owners to pay out their employees while they're canceling games and stuff like that. I think me personally I have probably an opinion that isn't as mainstream as that. I don't think it's on these billionaires, these owners of the teams, to do anything for their employees. But I understand why they do it. They want to look good, their family and all that. But at the same time, I don't think it should be. They shouldn't be receiving the shame. Should they be telling their employees to look
Well, here's the problem with you and I. We have a bit of an insurance background, so
Yeah.
that makes sense. But
Yeah, fair enough.
without going in that realm too much, I mean, this is one of the only things where insurance doesn't really cover it, because business interruption, which generally covers, not being somebody comes and lights your
Yeah, yeah.
your shop on fire, you can't make money that month. You get the replacement for that.
Or someone
Well,
drives through your
now,
building, yeah.
yeah, something like that, or a different place to go start your company up and some cash or whatever it may be. We're talking just it's not covered for no one. So like you trickle down, somebody's getting, we'll say screwed. Somebody's getting, something taken away from them majorly here, something very important.
Hmm.
Somebody's got to take the loss, and nobody's going to be able to come in and cover it.
Well, I don't think they owe nothing to the loss per se. I think it. This is where I think we elect these people to be in our government to make decisions that to help spread. Like, sure, they might say, okay, pay your employees, but then we'll reimburse. Like, there'll be incentives, or I don't know. Like, I'm not an expert in this
Yeah,
situation. I just kind of wanted to touch on it because there was a lot of shaming around the NHL this past week of certain teams that weren't, and I'm for one wasn't on board with the shaming because I don't feel like it's 100% responsibility of them. It's not like we didn't know a pandemic was a threat to the world's economy. Like there's
yeah.
been multiple reports of this for years. So
Somebody said today though that doesn't this prove that money's not real?
kind of
The
does, yeah.
fact that all these countries are like 3 billion here for this, 300 million for that. We're gonna do 600 million for this and
78
3 billion
billion.
here, and it's just like, where is this transaction coming from? It's just a number somebody's putting down. Like it's not
Yeah,
like you actually have to pay this debt back. I mean,
well, that's when it comes down to the whole currency exchange rates between currencies because the value of currency across each other like can make the difference, and it makes it seem what. But I'm with you. It kind of, and that's the
mm,
whole argument. I'm not going to go too much into it. That's the whole argument about Bitcoin and why you need something like Bitcoin because it holds. I don't know how to explain this. I'm a noob when it comes to Bitcoin, but it's the whole
yeah,
purpose of Bitcoin is to kind of like hold these things in check.
yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
going to
sure.
go any further than
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I'm not very educated when it comes to
Yeah.
that, so I don't have much to say either.
Do you want to talk
But
about so there's been a lot of things being thrown around about what it might look like for the NHL when it's time
mhm,
to boot back up. What do you think?
mhm.
You want to jump into that or
Yeah,
any
well,
other?
I mean, they were originally talking about, okay, this might be a couple week thing. We're gonna maybe have a mini camp to get people up and running again, and then play, up to 72 games or call some sort of consistent number somewhere,
Mm,
and then get into playoffs. But I think they realized that this is a bit more of a longer term thing than just a quick wait this out.
yeah,
It's not just a quick storm that's going to pass by. It's more of like
a
I don't know,
season like
but
a winter.
yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I think that if anything, we're gonna end up with the only way you can be fair is point percentage, right? Because you have to have a
Yeah,
common denominator somewhere. So you have to use points percentage and dictate it based off regulation points
points per
percentage.
game. Yeah,
Yeah. So if you do that, it's going to be unfair to some teams and fair to, or
it's gonna.
more
Yeah,
fair to others. There's going to be winners and losers when it comes to that, but you don't have an option. Just plain and simple, there is no other option. There is no plan B. So you have to go with plan A, which would either be a standard playoff format, a shortened playoff format, or an expanded playoff format,
yeah. It could be any of the
right?
three. Like, yeah,
There's four options. Those three are no playoffs, no
yeah.
no conclusion of season. It's really just those four possibilities. So like I think that they have probably, this is where I'd love to be like a fly on the wall during the meetings, but
Yeah.
they're not dumb. They've sat down and they've discussed. They've had players from the PA in meetings, and they've probably tabled those four different options.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, they probably know what the date is, where it's a drop dead date, where unfortunately we have to just pull the plug on the season and
When would you think
Shoot.
that would be? I would say maybe May.
Well, I was talking a little bit the other day in our group. I was trying to kind of talk it out loud and talk backwards with it. I
Hmm.
mean, how long does a normal playoffs take?
From
8 weeks?
mid-April to like mid-June, so like 8 weeks,
Like, I
9 weeks.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, eight. Let's say 8, 9, 10 weeks. So if we're talking 10 weeks, there's no way. Like next season's probably going to be affected by this. So there's no way you conclude the season probably later than September, right? Sometime in September to still give them a month and a half off, and then still play like a 60-ish game season next year, kind of thing.
Hmm.
That's probably probably got to cut it off in September. So that we're talking August, September as your playoffs instead of April, May. So if that's the case, you're drop dead to have a week or two because you're going to need probably 2 weeks to get people up and running at that point, and get all the logistics for people to actually buy tickets if they are actually opening it to fans because they might open it but then keep fans unavailable too, right? So that's
Hmm.
also got to be a
That's true. Yeah.
consideration. But drop dead date, if you look at it that way, we're looking at, what did I say, September, a couple weeks there for, let's say, the camp, 2 months. So we're probably looking at July, late July.
Okay. So that's much later than what I said with May. So at
Yeah,
least
I
another month.
think by the May 2-4 weekend, if there isn't talk that stuff's getting better and the Olympics are still on and things look to be under control, I think that we can start to really kind of get excited for what we might be watching or what we might be getting
Yeah.
put in front of us. But by May 2-4 weekend, if we're still in this situation and there's no real progress on it, I think that the conversation needs to really start being that the season's not going to be played out. And then do you award a cup or do you just not award a cup?
I don't know how you can reward a cup without playoffs because, as we know, like playoffs is a crapshoot. Anyone can.
Yeah.
If you get in the dance, you have a chance. So.
Yeah. Sorry, my dog's whining underneath my
All
feet.
good. All
He
good.
wanted to come down and then now he's just whining to leave. What a guy. What a grumpy old guy.
What a guy. Yeah.
Love him though. Yeah, so I mean, do you want to run through some potential winners or losers? I mean, I know that it can change the game depending on what happens, but in terms of the fact that we're going through this stoppage, who do you think the winners and the losers are?
Yeah, let's do that. I'm just gonna put the standings up, and then we can kind of like have an
Mm-hmm.
idea of some of these teams. So,
Mm-hmm.
starting from the Eastern Conference. So, like, how do you want to say this? Like, winners and losers from this pot, just from a
Let's
season
go
pause.
divisionally
Okay.
and go through the divisions. And just, we don't have to go through each team,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
just something who's like a clear cut winner or loser or something that is a clear cut comment. So, I mean, Washington, Ovi losing time to score more goals. That's probably the biggest.
The biggest story there. Yeah, less of a chance to catch up to Gretzky, and
Yeah, losing 20, maybe 40 games if they go far in the playoffs.
yep, that's a big. I would say that's a big one.
That's a big one. Yeah, I wouldn't call the Washington Capitals a loser, but I think that's a loser situation.
Agreed. I would say Philly kind of they kind of miss out on this situation quite
Yeah.
a bit.
They were getting healthy at the right
They were
time.
getting healthy. They were hot,
Mm-hmm.
and
Hart was playing amazing.
yeah, and their team was kind of just
Don't say it was such disappointment.
what that he was playing
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah, he's playing. Yeah. I know you gave him up, but you don't have to be so sad about it.
sorry, man, I had to. If I would say Pittsburgh's a winner in this situation.
Yeah.
The added pause gives them a good chance to get their best goal scorer back.
Yep.
Should that happen,
Yep.
which I think again would make Washington not as strong, but whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
Lessen their chance to win. Yep.
yeah.
Carolina.
I guess it's got to be a good thing for them, because they were struggling with injuries. They were right in the thick of it.
You could say it's a bad thing for them just because of games played. Could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, depending.
Well, I was gonna say it's a good thing also because of games played, because their point percentage, like if you compare them to Columbus, who they're battling with, they have the same points in 2 less games, so they would edge out Columbus in any point percentage situation,
and the Islanders,
and the Islanders as well.
Yeah.
So if we're looking at point percentage, that puts them into 4th place. So in theory, I would.
But what about the Rangers?
Yeah, I would call them one of the biggest losers of this whole situation.
No, sorry, I wasn't saying that. So winning percentage. So Carolina's
point percentage, they have less points in more games, so they have no chance. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
And New Jersey, that's probably good for them because no one has to watch them the rest of the season.
Yeah, they can just go home.
I'm just kidding.
Is it good or bad for Columbus?
It's got to be bad because I would say the odds on of them going to the point percentage playoff thing seems like the most likely thing as opposed to any
Does
possible
that kick
season.
Them out?
I think it. Well,
I guess so, right?
It
because,
might.
Like you said, 2
I think
games
that I don't. I'd have to run the calculations of whether they would stay ahead of Columbus or not. I would think the Islanders. I would think the Islanders would pass them on a point percentage.
I think it looks like they would too. Yeah. Quick math off the top of my head.
Yeah, quick math. I would think they missed the playoffs because of this.
Yeah. So that's obviously bad for them, especially after the season they had. And you had to think Islanders were continuing to trend down. Another game or two, they probably have that playoff spot from them. So that's a bad thing for them, probably.
Yep.
Good thing for the Islanders because opposite of that.
Yep.
Right.
And I'm gonna say, like, I think I said this to you. I think the Rangers are could possibly have the worst of this whole thing because I felt like it was up for them to have one of the biggest comebacks to make a playoff spot. I really had faith. They were hot. Zibanejad was freaking on fire.
Yep. And if they got to the dance, Kreider would be back, so they would be getting.
If they got to the dance, yeah, they were a legitimate threat.
Yeah, but if they expand the playoffs, Rangers could be a team that gets in. That could be. I think the Rangers in the playoffs are a more dangerous team than Islanders, Columbus, and Carolina.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
Especially if Shesterkin kept playing.
Yeah.
But I think that's the winners or losers from the Metro.
Moving on to the Atlantic.
Any other comments on the Metro? Are you good with the
Metro?
Metro?
I think that pretty much summed up everything.
So Boston?
I guess it's really a wash for them. It doesn't make too much of a difference how. The only thing I would say is if the season or all that, it kind of puts them back. Everyone's on hold. It slows them down.
Yeah,
they were looks like on pace to possibly be President's Trophy winners. So.
Yeah, but still, wouldn't they be anyways if the season ended? Yeah, they would be anyways.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's probably a wash for like these first 2 teams. Like they weren't going to pass each other. Tampa Bay probably has a little bit more of a boost because of the whole Stamkos situation. Mm-hmm. However, he was very likely going to be back for playoffs anyway.
Yeah. Sorry, I just want to step back to Boston. For me,
ahead.
Boston's a to be determined.
Okay.
It has a wide swing because to me, after the lockout, it was clear that the speed game took a while to catch up to the, I don't want to say hook and hold game, but the Bruins style of game, where, get the puck in, get the puck to the net, and then bang it in, like simple type hockey. If hockey comes back, I think that they'll be the best at playing their own game, as opposed to a Tampa or Toronto who may have, haven't played for 2 months and now got to get going, like an Austin Matthews has got to, take off, get going kind of thing. But I see it as a negative because of how many old guys they have and getting older guys they have, the Charas, the Bergerons and whatnots, basically could miss out on an opportunity.
Hard to re-kick the engine going too. It might take a little bit.
Well, that too, but I just mean like losing that opportunity. Like clearly, you're the best team in the NHL right now, based on points in the regular season, playoffs, whatever. But based on what we've been able to go through to today's date, you're the best team. If you all of a sudden just, you don't even get a chance to go for the cup. Chara, how many years does Chara have left? 2, maybe. So is that 2 kicks at the can? Maybe, but it's 1 less. So, I mean, if there's a season cancellation, big loser. If it's delay, I think they could be one of the biggest winners. So, to be
You make some
determined
good
for
points
them.
there that I can't really argue with.
Yeah. But now we can go to Tampa Bay.
I have to
Tampa
wish.
Bay.
To
Yeah,
me, they're kind of a winner. They get Stamkos back. Doesn't
yeah,
make too much difference. Well, I shouldn't say they're a winner. I'm going to go back and say not much difference.
yeah.
They're going to have their same roster.
Stamkos ad is pretty big.
It is, but he should have been back for playoffs anyway, and they weren't going to lose second place, and they weren't going to catch first place, so really did it make a difference?
That's true.
Probably not.
That's true. Good calls, good points.
Yeah.
Points percentage for Leafs Florida. Who would get in for that?
It's got to be Leafs.
Yeah?
Yeah, 3 points over one game, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sorry. I was doing different math in my head. But yeah, so Leafs, I mean, winner.
It'd be interesting to see where the points percentage with Florida. No, never mind. It wouldn't. They're even behind the Rangers. So
yeah,
never mind. Yeah, it's got to be a win for the Leafs a little bit because they can't. The opportunity to choke no longer exists.
Yeah. There's that, assuming we don't, get up and going again in a couple weeks with no fans or something.
Yeah, with some points on the line,
Yeah, some regular season still to be played, but I don't think I personally think that that's not even a thing to talk about anymore. I don't think that there's going to be a regular season. I think the Detroits and the Ottawas and whatever are done playing. I don't think that they'll play no matter what.
And I think a good way to benchmark that is that the NBA, for instance, there's no way of them even starting to play again until June. And they've said that, so I think that's a good benchmark to kind of what to expect with the NHL. There's been arguments to say that the NHL may be a little more desperate to get back to the games.
Yeah, they don't have the big TV deals.
Exactly. Yeah. So
I could see the NHL starting up quicker, but being like, we are starting, but there's no fans. Yep. There's like bare bones media. And there's still the preventative measures taken, on the buses. The buses are sterilized while they're in the rink playing. They get on the bus and they leave, and then all their stuff's sterilized and whatever.
Yeah, they're basically living in a bubble for a couple months.
Yeah.
Could be possible.
But I think that it would be pretty clutch for the Leafs if it ended up starting. I think that they would be a team that Tampa really wouldn't want to play. Like, Tampa's obviously a better team, but a healthy Toronto defense we haven't seen really all year. Morgan Riley's really been hurt all year, so even him playing when he was playing wasn't playing very good. So I mean, you're losing your best defenseman in that case. So you now have your backup goalie that Freddie can lean on. I think it would be very interesting to watch the Leafs go through a playoff match because they're a very complete team if healthy.
Yeah, agreed.
So, it'd be interesting to see what comes back from that. But Florida, loser, I guess, because they don't get the chance to maybe get hot in the last 10 games.
Yeah, and they've had a history of the past 2 years of getting hot in those games.
Yeah.
It's always been too little too late, so they were kind of setting up for that again. However, they're not too far out of it as much as
they were closer to pounce, pun intended.
I think below this, the only benefit is that if we go for Montreal and Buffalo, if we go to some crazy playoff format that has been thrown around, and I'm not really going to entertain it at this point.
Yeah,
they'd be in the dance. So other than that, they're kind of their season, like you said, is probably done as well.
Well, I always try and look at things backwards to see if it even fits. Yeah. When I was looking at the 24 team format, it only makes sense logistically is if you have even matchups, unless somebody just has a bye through the whole playoffs, right? Which wouldn't be the case.
Yeah, to be a bracket, it either has to be 16 or 32, right? You could do 24 actually. Yeah, you're right. You could have 8 teams with a first round bye.
Yeah, or so you could have 6 teams per division, so 6, 12, 24, and then 4 byes. You could do 24. 28. You could do 28.
No, this is what you do. 24 teams. 8 teams get a first round bye, and then the other 16 teams play. They play down to 8, and then it's 8. That's how
you could do it that way.
I think that seems to be because I think if you have 24 teams, you're at least going to get everyone that was battling for playoff spots potentially,
Yeah.
because that's going to leave 7 teams out, and I think you can pick 7 teams that were completely out of it.
And that would be pretty cool, to be honest. If you sort by league and you kick out the bottom 7, you're talking about Detroit, Ottawa, San Jose, LA. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So Detroit, Ottawa, San Jose, LA, Anaheim, New Jersey, Buffalo. Well, Buffalo would get in because
of point percentage.
Well, you have to consider the East-West balance too, right? So the lowest Western team, so Chicago would actually take the place of Buffalo. Just because the conference, right?
Possibly, yeah.
But yeah, if they're in that potential
potential theory.
But I mean, it's going to be, we'll be able to knock off theories as the timelines become a little bit more clear.
Yep.
So I mean, like you said, you're not even really kind of entertaining some ideas. So we're going to have to see.
That's all. It's all about patience at this point for everything in life. Life it's going to really slow down. So like to make decisions thinking a week out, we can't, because we don't know what a week out from today is even going to look like right now. And it's crazy to say that, but that's the world.
We don't know what tomorrow looks like, bro.
Yeah.
Like it's scary. I mean, fingers crossed, knock on wood, do whatever you need to do for luck. They seem to tend to think that things are slowing or are becoming more manageable. You never know. We're not going to know for 10 days.
No, yeah.
But
we got a ways to go, yeah.
I still don't think we've hit the apex yet. I think we're still a couple weeks away from that.
Agreed.
Probably 3 weeks away from that, at least.
Unfortunately,
I'm preparing to bunker down for 5 weeks.
Yep.
After the 5-week mark, I'll be like, well, obviously, unless things change, I'll be like, okay, when's this shit going to be over? I don't mean to sound, insensitive or anything, but you know what I mean.
Yep.
Like, if I can put in my mind 5 weeks, do what I need to do, 5 on weeks, focus on yourself, focus on working out, get healthy. This is really the time when all of us use the excuse we don't have time for that.
This is it, yeah.
Use this time. Learn the guitar, learn the piano, learn how to sing, learn how to cook.
Do whatever, that thing you've always wanted to do, but you've been putting off. This is the perfect chance to do it.
Yeah, you have 5 weeks minimum to focus on something where you can't leave and you don't have any other distractions. And you almost want a distraction from your normal distractions in the TV/news/Twitter/ whatever, social media, right?
Yep.
But it could almost be a humanity reset in a sense.
For sure. I've used this anecdote today. It's like you own that really old computer and it takes forever to shut down and then to restart back up. It kind of feels like that's what's happening around us.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just kind of like, well, instead of trying to fix that, we might have to just press that or just replace it and move forward with new stuff. Yeah. Or a new line of thinking, new way of thinking, new way of dealing, new way of everything, right? But let's go to the Western winners and losers.
Yeah.
St. Louis.
I'm going to call them a loser.
Loser, eh?
And here's why. Mainly because their biggest threat to the division is Colorado. And Colorado is going to have time now because they had been suffering from some pretty significant injuries that would have lasted for these last 10 games of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we're kind of looking through it at the lens that there's no more regular season. So I guess me calling them a loser doesn't make much sense. So can I just pretend I didn't say that? Because I was kind of going to say that now their first place in the Central's in jeopardy, but really is it? Probably not.
I had a hard time really classifying it either way. What I was looking at right now was just overall standings, and the only 2 teams that had any chance, very, very small, albeit, to catch Boston for top overall team would be St. Louis and Colorado.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're losing out on the opportunity because St. Louis would be getting Tarasenko back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, maybe if they got hot, running the table in their last 8 or 9 games or something, maybe they could have put up a fight for the top spot.
But yeah, I don't think they President's Trophy doesn't mean much, right? So would they push for it? I guess, yeah.
But Colorado's a big loser or big winner. I mean,
big winner, yeah.
Because they'll get all their healthy guys back if presumably they start the season back up.
Yep.
Dallas.
I guess I would have to classify them as a winner because they would make it in, and they don't have a chance of choking down the stretch.
Touche. Touche.
I know I've said
And they
that
are a
about
playoff
other
build
teams,
type
but there's going to be
team.
a couple of teams like that. So
Yeah, and they are a playoff build type team.
yeah.
So I mean, they could be a team that you don't want to play in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Winnipeg, big losers, I'd say.
Yeah, and I think it's because I don't know, I haven't looked at it myself, but point percentage, I think they end up on the outside looking in of the top 8.
They might from Nashville might pop over them.
Nah, yeah, not even that though. Too, I think. I guess that's what I am referring.
2 games in hands, 2 points back.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
I don't know what the points game because that would be a tied points percentage, right?
Yeah, but it looks to me
then-
like they don't have 2 points, or I guess they have 2 games in hand. So yeah, they would be over 2 points because they're above.
Yeah.
They're above 1 point.
And then you go to regulation wins, and
Yeah.
Winnipeg has 37, so they would actually still be in over Nashville, but they might not be in over.
I don't think they. I don't know. Does it have
They
to
would
do
be
with
in.
regulation wins? I don't think it does.
Yeah, well, it would be points percentage, and then if there's a tie of points percentage, it would then be.
Well, just look at it this way. Or wait, no, I guess that. Okay, so like take 78 points of Nashville, or 69 games played divided by the 78 points of Nashville, right? That's above 1. We can say that, right? It's like 1 point something. So
69 divided by 78, right?
yeah.
So that's 0.8846.
Oh, sorry, it should be
now-
78 divided by 69. It's the wrong way.
78 divided by
So
69.
and that's how many points they get per game.
Okay. Oh, okay, yeah.
So they have 2 games in hand, so you times that by 2, and that's how many points they should have. I don't know if that's how, I don't exactly know the formula for points percentage, but that's the way I look at it.
Exactly either, yeah.
Yeah, so
But
I don't know. I've just heard that Winnipeg loses out when it comes to point percentage by a very, very, very small margin. I've heard that through the sports, so I'm going to take their word for it that they know what they're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, so if that's the case, then Nashville would be a loser if they didn't get in.
Mm.
Especially when they got healthy at the right time, and they were probably the one team that most teams were afraid of making a hot finish.
I know I'd been predicting them to make the playoffs.
For a while, I thought they were out and dead, and then when they started getting Ellis back and some other guys back, Ellis really kind of brought that D together, which made the goalies better. Saros finally started playing goalie. You had to figure Rene or Saros, one of them was going to start to play decent.
Yeah.
And then finally, Saros started to play really good, which got them back in the hunt. But Minnesota, I didn't consider was legit. I mean, maybe they could have squeaked in. So I guess maybe they're losers.
They were definitely losers because they had a shot.
Mm-hmm.
And now they potentially could.
Not many people probably predicted them, but yeah, they still had a shot.
Agreed.
Chicago.
It doesn't matter.
I don't think it affects anything.
Yeah.
Vegas.
I don't think it matters too much for them. I think they're right where they would have ended anyway. It's a little bit of a bonus because they did suffer some injuries in the last week right before all this.
That's true, Stone and whatnot. So they could be
Pacioretty,
having a couple guys back. Yeah, so I guess it's a bit of a good stall if it comes back.
I had a future bet for them to win the division, and right now that's up in the air how they're going to deal with it. It sounds like most places are starting to cancel future bets, so I'm pretty upset that would have been a couple $100 for me. I'm sad.
Yeah, that sucks. That really sucks.
Yeah.
Edmonton, I think they're winners because they're getting some injuries back. I mean, Mike Green could be back. Athanasiou could be back, which was their 2 of their 3 big deadline acquisitions, along with Ennis. So, I mean, Ennis was fitting in nicely. I thought they were playing really well. Draisaitl started driving his own line. McDavid was driving his own line. Now you have 2 really good lines. So it was the first time they had the depth that they needed really in a long time. So I think they're losers. Losers and winners.
Losers and winners.
Losers that they lost the season, but winners if the season comes back because they'll be healthy.
Yeah. And I'm going to classify these next 2 as kind of the same in that I think they're winners, Calgary and Vancouver. And it's kind of goes to what I was saying with other teams. They just don't have the risk now of choking down the stretch. Vancouver is definitely a big winner, more than Calgary, because Markstrom was out and all those injuries, and Vancouver is really struggling.
Maybe Besser comes back, or not Besser. Sorry, who's Vancouver missing? Besser just came back.
Besser just came back. Markstrom.
Oh, Hughes was hurt. Markstrom and
Tanev was out.
did they have a forward? Who was the other forward hurt? I thought there was another forward that was injured.
Well, it depends. If like they have Sutter was
Oh, Furland.
Furland, yeah.
I don't know if he would be back. I think he had shoulder surgery or something.
Yeah, I think potentially his thing's a little more serious too.
Yeah, I think that he's like done until next October kind of thing. Or he's not really worth talking about till next October kind of thing. You know what I'm saying. But Arizona.
Gotta call them a loser because their chances now are done. They had chance. Like Vancouver's very much struggling.
I'll just call them a loser.
Yeah, because they were like losers to begin with. So
exactly.
That's just compounded that losering.
They just fit the word loser. They are.
It breaks my heart to say it too.
And what I said last episode, if you want to go back and get more detail, link up the last episode. But basically, just Arizona screwed with these violations of the rookie testing, along with going all in on Taylor Hall, who is probably going to end up leaving them.
I would say definitely, yeah.
It's not looking good for the new owner and everything in Arizona moving forward. So they're just losers.
Yep.
Anaheim.
I think the rest of these teams are just.
They're all the same.
They're all the same. They were all out of it anyway. LA, interestingly, had won 7 straight, but still 10, 15 points out, so it didn't fucking matter.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, it's only the bottom teams that would be fighting for draft lottery. But I'm going to call it right now. My gut tells me that they're going to change the lottery to all of the teams outside of the playoffs. I think that they're going to do like what would that be, 15-team lottery.
That'd be really unfortunate for friggin' Detroit, though.
Not if you're going to have to change the odds, obviously, right?
But but can they still be guaranteed top 3?
I would change the odds so that obviously you include all the teams, but then I would heighten the odds for the bigger teams to make it less likely that they actually lose, but still allow some jumps in more the 5 to.
Well,
you're never going to have one.
That 2% will hit every fucking time, man.
Yeah. Did you go to that draft simulator like I said last week? Pull it up right now. NHL draft simulator.
NHL Draft Simulator. We're going to do it live on the stream. Sim lottery? Like, what am I supposed to do here? Just keep simming it?
Yeah, so if you open it up and... Hold on, I'm just getting there too. Yeah. So if you press Sim Lottery, what was your top 3?
New Jersey, Anaheim, Arizona.
Mine was Anaheim, Montreal, and San Jose. So my point of that is we could press it again.
Mm-hmm.
Press it again. What do you have?
Detroit, LA, Ottawa.
I have San Jose, Detroit, New Jersey.
Oh, yeah. San Jose instead of Ottawa, yeah.
Press it one more time. And what do you have?
San Jose / Ottawa, Arizona, Ottawa.
So I have San Jose, Chicago, Ottawa. So my point there is we each just pressed it 3 times. So 6 individual tests. And there wasn't one of them that was almost the same. Like, I mean, you could argue almost the same, but like maybe one of the right teams was in there or one of the teams at the right order, but everything else was completely different.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So like my point is that with this current lottery structure, they've made it so that it's equal amongst most of the bad teams to still get into that top 3 and then everybody else follows suit.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if you change the odds, so what is it here? It actually shows here. So
I just think it'd be very unfortunate if somehow Detroit was like 7th.
Well, I mean, right now the odds are set for only top 3. So 1% chance that Columbus were to be able to get in the top 3 only. If not, they'll just stay where they are. So if you look at it that way and you do a full draft for the entire slotting, maybe now they have a 0.25% chance at top 3, but maybe they have, a 25% chance at moving up 5 or so spots.
Okay, yeah, that makes
sense. So, I mean, in the standings between 11 games played. I'm just making up numbers. 11 games played for Columbus and 9 games played for Florida and 7 games played for the Rangers. If you actually play those games out, anything could happen, right?
Yeah.
So why not just take that uncertainty and take that lack of probability or lack of being able to see what the probability is and look at it the opposite way and just put the odds for everybody into the lotto so that you almost put the chance of whatever your record is in those last 12 games plus your chance for the draft lottery into one draft lottery.
Yeah, it makes sense.
That would be something that I would highly recommend, because then what about the teams who lose their, like, what if Winnipeg were to lose Hellebuck and they lose 11 of their last 12 games and now they end up with a top pick because of it? Or you can use any example or make up any example, right? Because we don't know what would have happened.
Yeah, that's a good point. LA could, like, just to show that win streaks they were on, if they continued to win at a high pace, yeah. Fair enough.
What if Quick and Brown and them all started playing really well again? Doughty started clicking again and they won. They continued to win at an 85% pace and they just ruined their draft odds, right? Like it's the same thing for that person. Oh, just because they didn't finish the season out, which you don't know how they would have finished. So put that unpredictability right into the lotto, and just for this 1 year. And if it's something that turns out to be crazy, which, let's be real, the draft lottery
is rigged.
30 minutes.
Just kidding.
The 30-minute special that they do was kind of cool the first couple years or year that they had the top 3. If you turned it into like a 2-hour special where, like, you know, coming up to the table to pick the next ball is, you know, Mario Lemieux, or you can bring former stars, you can promote the league, you can promote whatever, you can, you know, you can have a competition, you know, the kid in minor hockey who fundraises the most amount of money that year gets to come in and pick the 11th ball in the 2021 draft. And they can do some sports betting with
that. If you pick the perfect order, you win this prize or whatever. And how many different combinations like, there are, right?
Exactly. Kind of like March Madness, where like a lot of it's just kind of luck, and a lot of the people who pick, I like orange over blue, or I like alligators over turtles or whatever, right? That often is more successful than anything. Yeah. So you almost get that element back into it, which would be kind of neat.
Yeah.
I mean, you turn the draft right now is, I love watching the draft because there's so much information packed into such a short amount of time. But like, you turn the draft lottery, like, it's like, oh, what is the lottery going to be? And it's a 30-minute segment. It shows them all waiting around and they talk about the season and whatever, waiting for that 1, 2, 3 pick. And then it's done. Like, I just couldn't see it now, how much, like 15 picks and next year 16 picks. That's a 2-hour special written all over it. You're now getting advertisements. You're getting paid sponsors. You can have hockey players come in and do specials about themselves, or like things like that. You can now get in the prospect, like when they do the get to know the prospect kind of thing, you get to know like the top 3 or 4 or 5 guys, and then they start going through them quicker, and then you don't get as much information. You could now have people learning about these people. So if you're like, I don't know, Minnesota at 11 and you end up at 8th, let's say you win 5th, and you're like, okay, well, you know, we're 11th, so we're really only looking at prospects 9 through 13 as a fan, and you educate yourself on the grouping you think you're in. All of a sudden, now you're a bunch of picks higher. Now you're like, oh shit, I don't know what this guy's about. I want to learn about this guy because I want to know what he's about. I didn't think we could actually get this guy. Now you're getting more people tuning in for these special segments who are learning more about these players who are now becoming bigger at younger moments. So there's positives all in it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I totally agree. I just worry about specifically Detroit. Because they were relying on let's be honest, a top 4 pick.
Yeah. And they've missed out lately too in some lotteries.
Yeah. So
they've been losers for that.
If just say they got a 10th pick. 10th picks don't necessarily work out as often as the top 4. They could delay their rebuild even longer, but that's just obviously you can't make a decision that's going to be perfect. Someone's going to be not happy. Someone's going to be more happy. Essentially, it comes down to commissioner makes a decision, and as commissioner, you know what that feels like. So
and that the odds here are listed as well for top 3. So Detroit right now has a 49.4% odds at drafting in the top 3. So 50% odds, but they only have an 18% odds at drafting first overall.
Yeah, but if they don't come top 3, they're guaranteed 4th, right?
Yes, but if you change it to this whole draft lottery system, maybe you say, okay, your percentages for drafting top 3 go from 49% to 60%, and your percentages for drafting top 5 is like 85%.
Yeah.
So like you add the odds so that each time Detroit, like if Detroit misses out on 1,
it exponentially gets better. Yeah.
Yeah. So by the time they get down to 4 or 5, it's like 98.9% that Detroit gets picked. So if they still lose that lottery,
yeah, it'd just be like
right?
By the time they're possibly picking 8th, it's like 97% or something.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden they lose, and it's like statistically they went 4 picks at 99+% odds that they weren't going to get it. Like how can that? It's like once in a lifetime thing, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, you could never predict that, but it's something like that if you lose a chunk of the season and you lose the season specifically, you're going to need to milk out the airwave time to get your ads, to get your sponsors, to get that stuff.
Yeah.
What better opportunity than that?
It's a good point. Making valid points. I can't really argue with the reasoning behind it. That's for sure.
That's why the NHL or somebody in the NHL should hire me.
Hire this guy over here.
I'll do good. I'll do real good.
I don't know. Probably on your screen, it makes me look like I'm pointing into a wall, but
no, it looks like you're pointing right at me.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. Good. I didn't know if they had like them reversed on your screen or not.
No.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think that's pretty much all that we can milk out of
the NHL for now.
What's going on in the NHL? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say now, like I don't know if we'll necessarily keep doing the weekly update, or I don't know. I think maybe we'll touch base, maybe not.
I think we should log in even if for 10, 15, 20 minutes just to kind of say what's up, to make sure, we're healthy or see what's going on. And
sounds good to me.
Hopefully everyone out there
stays
healthy and is doing their part to.
Yeah, because it's like we touched on it earlier, it's going to be a community effort to get through this. It's one of those times where you got to remember there's bigger things than sports. There's bigger things than just an individual. It's all about everybody coming together.
And you and I going out is probably not going to affect you or I, but it's going to probably affect our parents or our grandparents or our parents' friends or our grandparents' friends or aunts and uncles. So just don't go out and risk your elderly.
Yeah, and for me, my sister is directly involved. She's a nurse, so for me staying home, I'm really thinking about her a lot because I know these next few months could potentially.
Her name?
Pardon me, Rebecca.
What's her name?
Rebecca. This one's for her.
Yes, best wishes, Rebecca. Hopefully everything's good in there. Stay safe and stay mentally safe as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll just subscribe and like and all that stuff.
Do that.
Do that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.